Hey everyone, I'm Billy and welcome back to The Perantau Podcast, di mana kita ngomongin para perantau di Australia itu ngapain aja sih? Kali ini gue ngobrol bareng Quincy John. Dari yang S1-nya ngambil finance, sekarang kerja jadi accountant, kita ngebahas realita transisi dari kehidupan mahasiswa ke pekerjaan full time. Kita juga ngomongin tentang tantangan dan kejutan pas masuk ke dunia profesional, gimana rasanya lingkungan orang Indo di tempat kerja dia juga sekarang berkurang di Melbourne, sama pelajaran berharga dari pengalaman berorganisasi selama kuliah. Jadi nggak usah lama-lama lagi, mari kita persilakan Quincy. So Queen, Oke, gimana ya? Mulainya mungkin kita mulai dulu lebih ke sekarang lu ngerasa gimana sih lu ngerasa nggak sehari-hari bahwa lu sebagai orang Indo di luar negeri lu ngerasa kayak gimana gitu nggak?
Agak detach sih ya kayaknya ya. Karena
Detach dari apa?
I think kayak knowing well kita berdua tuh dulu dari komunitas Indonesia dan mungkin lo juga masih di komunitas Indonesia karena kerja di ABC. Tapi kan sekarang gue udah masuk ranah kerja yang basically jarang ada orang Indonesianya. Dan dibandingkan dulu yang gue punya presence tuh Indonesian student heavy, itu tuh banyak. Maksudnya it's very contrasting gitu lah. Sebagai orang Indonesia di sini sih, gue bisa bilang agak detach dari komunitas itu ya sekarang. Bukan berarti gue merasa bahwa gue bukan orang Indonesia or something like along the lines. Tapi kayak kayaknya banyak kasus di mana kayak as an Indonesian kalau misalnya lu nggak effort kayak apa ya, you don't have the effort to look for that community of professional Indonesian. It's very easy for you to stray away from your own community. Nggak kayak pas student yang kayak lo di mana-mana tuh ada gitu loh, PP apa, terus kayak ada ayah, ada ini, ada itu gitu.
Nah, and we'll definitely get on to that a bit later on. Tapi mungkin sebelum kita kesana, coba kasih just a brief overview misalnya selama ini lu ke Melbourne tahun berapa, terus itu lu kemarin study apa, and like what are you working as now?
So gue nyampe di Melbourne 2022 after COVID lockdown ceased. Gue belajar di University of Melbourne. I studied finance and accounting. I graduated August this year. Now I work as an accountant di one of the public companies.
Lu mau jadi personal accountant gue?
Gue makan uang.
Gila lu. Lu mau jadi accountant perantau.
Gue makan uang lah.
Gila. Terus sekarang jadi rasanya, sekarang lu ngerasa gimana transitioning into work gitu kan? Sekarang again lu udah kerja accountant, terus and then you also just did your CA.
I didn't take the test.
Kan jadi.
Oh my god.
Oke. Ini kita boleh ngomongin itu juga.
Boleh.
Ya, tapi maksudnya berarti ternyata gak jadi ngambil kan? Tapi but you were planning on taking it at least gitu kan?
Yes.
Bahwa lu mau dengan cara mau ngambil accounting test supaya certified accountant. Tapi pokoknya intinya kita ngomongin itu dulu deh. Misalnya jadi yang tadi lu sebagai mahasiswi, student life and all that gitu. Terus sekarang lu transition ke kerja, lu rasanya kayak gimana sih?
Okay. Correction dikit, I wasn't actually going to take my CA. I was going to take my CFA, which is actually for my finance. So, in the commerce world, you have a lot of certification, just like engineers have a lot. So, when you talk about accounting, there's CA or CPA. When you talk about finance, you have CFA, CPM, CIPM, yada, yada, yada. So, these kinds of certifications are according to what you're going to do. Kalau CFA itu finance. So what I study is kayak company valuation, bonds, equity, kayak gitu-gitu. Kalau CA itu benar-benar kayak internal controls, classification of assets, kayak gitu-gitu. Should we talk a bit about CFA and what happened with my process?
I think it'd be nice to touch on.
So gue kemarin itu, jadi kalau CFA itu cuma ada 4 kali setahun.
Oke.
Terus dari Maret tuh gue udah bayar. Terus gue udah mulai belajar dari Maret itu sampai kemarin. Minggu malam. Jadi gue ambil tes tuh harusnya Senin siang. Minggu malam berarti about 12 hours before. Gue iseng, gue ngecek nama gue.
Oke.
Dan nama gue itu kan lo tau ya, nama gue tuh Safira Quincy John. Ternyata di website CFA-nya gak ada nama Safiranya.
Quincy John doang?
Betul.
Oke, terus?
Sedangkan di paspor gue yang jadi identification dokumen buat CFA adalah Safira Quincy John. Dan salah satu policy-nya adalah kalau misalnya lu nggak bisa provide identification yang sesuai dengan nama lu di website, lu nggak bisa ikut tes. Untungnya waktu itu CFA itu ada 24/7 call. Ini first step nih. Gue telepon, gue bilang gue mau ganti nama. Digantilah nama gue, tapi dia bilang, kita udah ganti nama lu di CFA, tapi belum tentu tes centernya akan terima. Karena dia nge-send nama ke tes center itu beberapa hari sebelum. And this is 12 hours before the exam. So gue udah telepon orang tua gue udah gemeteran. Gue nih udah kayak, maksudnya sleep deprived, tired, exhausted gitu kan. And I'm kayak faced with this issue gitu. Jadi akhirnya gue telepon, dan maksudnya kayak, apa ya, I'm grateful to have parents yang kayak bilang, ya gak apa-apa, kalau emang ini belum jalan ya belum jalan ya, gitu loh. Despite the cost and all the things that we've sacrificed for this, misalnya kayak my time and energy and stuff. Terus akhirnya gue bilang lah ke orang tua gue at like 12 AM, gue bilang, ya udahlah, udah diganti namanya di website CFA-nya. Besok gue datang lebih pagi aja untuk ngecek ke tes centernya untuk confirm gue bisa tes atau tidak. Karena basically polisinya bilang bahwa yang penting nama gue tuh sebenarnya sama di website. Oke. Bukan di tes center. Oke. Gitu ya. Ya udah gue datang. Jadi tesnya tuh 1.30, gue datang 12.30. Check-in-nya tuh jam 1. Jadi gue datang 30 menit sebelumnya ya. Oke. Gue datang, terus gue bilang, "Hey, I'm just checking cause I just changed my name last night. And I was just wondering whether I could take the test or not." Terus kayak akhirnya orangnya bilang, okay, let me see. So ini orang dia ngalor ngidul 25 menit. I don't know where he went. I don't know who he contacted. Just to confirm that I couldn't take the test. And I was fuming at that point. Because I was pretty sure that I filled out my name. 1, 2, it was so easy for him to disregard it like that. 3, the policy was to say that my identification, identity itu sama kayak yang di website, not in the test center gitu kan. So I went home, I called CFA. Untungnya deferralnya mereka tuh bisa dilakukan setelah exam. Okay. So like say it's not like you have to reschedule before your exam. You can actually reschedule after your exam. So I moved it to May, and I paid another fee. Okay. Everything is about money. And one of the things that I discussed with my parents was like, I know that it's not a small fee, but I'm grateful that I did it. Karena I feel like I wasn't confident enough to take the test. And so I didn't feel like it was like such a waste or I was guilty of it. I felt grateful. Karena I felt like this was redemption. I think 2 weeks before I took the test, this is when I realized that I think I've been studying the wrong way. And I feel like I've been spending a lot of time just like, gimana ya? So I rewrite all the things in my notes. And that takes a lot of time, right? And like with my short attention span, as you know. Iya, tahu. Jadi gue tuh paling cuman bisa belajar limited time. Itu pun gak fokus gitu loh. Jadinya gue belajar tuh sebenarnya gak selesai. So sekarang gue udah tahu nih cara belajar gue kayak gimana. Gue harus atur waktunya kayak gimana. And I feel like I'm being given a second chance. So that fee and this whole incident is not something to be regretted lah gitu.
Gila, gue kalau salah nama gitu gue udah dimaki-maki sih.
Honestly, I feel like in that time, I would have expected that too. Cause like, it's my fault. Like it's our, cause we're the one yang isi form kan. Dan kelihatannya tuh itu jujur, masalahnya tuh di autofill. I kid you not. Queen. Jadi gue tuh kayaknya udah isi namanya Safira Quincy John. Terus ada, dia tuh minta email dan nomor telepon.
Terus langsung autofill.
Dan itu autofill dan semuanya keganti kan. Iya. Dan gue tuh sakit hati sih sebenarnya waktu itu kayak. Yang bikin gue kesel tuh gini loh. Itu prokternya tuh bilang ke gue, kalau nama lu tuh yang gak ada tuh middle name, kita bolehin lu pergi. kayak masuk tesnya.
Maksudnya nama depan lu gitu
Nama depan lu.
technically.
And I'm like, waktu gue cerita sama temen gue bilang, Queen, nama depan lu tuh gak penting, gak ada yang pernah pakai. The only important thing is your middle name. Terus gue kayak, that's it, that's the whole issue gitu. Cuman my parents were super duper, kayaknya they've reached that kind of wisdom where they know like if it's not it, it's not it.
Wow.
And I think like that acceptance has helped me a lot as well. Because I know that I have their support, and I know that they trust me enough to be able to deal with like all these things in my life, including this one. I take responsibility. Gue bayar deferral fee-nya sendiri. But at the same time, they let me do it. Gitu. Which is great.
Yeah. Now going back to the initial question.
Yeah, initial question. This is like a catch up. Because I know every time, like, because every time I tell this story to my friends, they're like, "Once you prepared this exam for like a long time, and you didn't take it, like, why?" But yeah, catch up session.
Iya.
Your initial question, please.
Iya, jadi balik lagi. Lu ngerasa transisi from being a student to the workplace tuh gimana? Do you think it has actually set you up?
It's actually exciting.
Okay.
I think sebagian gini loh, ada orang yang misalnya kayak lulus kuliah, mereka tuh kayak kangen sama masa kuliahnya, karena mereka ngerasa kayak there's this certain kayak habit atau kayak ada ritme mereka untuk belajar terus gitu kan. But I think I was at the point waktu gue lulus tuh gue udah burnout.
Udah jenuh aja udah
jenuh banget. Kayak gue udah gak mau belajar. So pada saat akhirnya gue masuk ke dunia kerja. Dan jujur gue masuk dunia kerja tuh lumayan cepet ya. 2 minggu habis gue lulus gue udah masuk
Hebat
kerja
sih.
deh. Gila ya.
Bagus sih.
Bener-bener tuh karya Tuhan.
Buset.
It's exciting karena ngerasa kayak this is what it feels to be an adult.
Oke.
Gitu. Ketemu orang baru, belajar hal baru, jadi orang yang berguna di society itu seperti apa, gitu ya. Taking part in something that is bigger than yourself, it's all exciting. Terus ketemu, maksudnya tim gue juga yang luar biasa baik. Kalau dibilang dari segi ritme kerja dan maksudnya habit tuh pasti beda ya. Kayak sekarang tiap hari gue bangun jam 7, pulang jam 5, jam 6 gitu. Capek-capek dan kayak mungkin kalau lu dulu kuliah bisa pulang kampus jam 1, jam 2 terus habis itu lu leha-leha gitu kan. Sekarang kan enggak. Kayak lu pulang jam 6, jam 11 sudah tidur. So your free time is that 5 hour you have in between. And it's very easy to be burned out even by that. Kayak knowing that your day repeats over and over again. Tapi I think like the excitement of being an adult, paying your bills, and that's exciting to me. Like, oh my God, I'm an independent girly. That kind of makes me like grateful that I'm at this position in life, and it avoids me from feeling like the burnout and everything.
Tapi lu ngomong kayak mungkin dulu kuliah jam 1, jam 2 pulang terus leha-leha. Kayaknya kita nggak gitu sih Queen. Kayaknya kita pulang-pulang PPA sih Queen.
No comment.
24/7
Tapi
HP bunyi terus.
Tapi itu bener loh. Gue tuh sampai sekarang belum lepas D&D.
Belum apa?
Lepas Do Not Disturb.
At all?
Ada beberapa kali, tapi kayak biasanya gue lepas tuh kalau misalnya, karena now I put my D&D itu ada sleep mode.
Oh ya.
Jadi kayak jam 11 tuh nggak bisa terima telepon apa gitu.
Yeah.
Jadi biasa gue matiin. But other than that, kalau gue lagi kerja, gue lagi apa, ini lagi nyala. I cannot recover. We will not recover.
Justru kayak gue sama in the way that kayak if I see a text gue kayak ntar dulu deh gitu.
You start shaking.
Iya itu kayaknya nempel sampai sekarang deh.
You start shaking, you vomit in the middle of the road. Oh my God.
Nah tapi ngomongin PPA, sekarang pertanyaan gue, do you think your time di PPA, misalkan lu bukan di PPA doang, misalkan like itu sempat di perspective and some other things as well gitu. Tapi menurut lu in your time in those kind of organizations, ya terutama PPA gitu yang terakhir kan, menurut lu do you think there were transferable soft skills yang kepake sampai sekarang gitu, dan apa sebenarnya?
Definitely. Alasan gue akhirnya melanjutkan jadi presiden kan karena itu. Maksudnya gue datang dari background yang gue tuh nggak pernah organisasi sebenarnya. Jadi kayak tim leadership.
Kan dulu SMA bukan suka.
Karena dulu tuh Bill, you know the story. Gue waktu SMA SMP tuh beda banget sama adik gue. Adik gue tuh everything dia sama gitu. Gue selalu takut bahwa waktu orang baca gue punya application aja mereka kayak, Quincy apply OSIS. That was my fear. Dan waktu gue masuk ke college, I felt like this is a new page. I need to step in gitu kan. Akhirnya gue masuk PPFIC, gue belajar team leadership, gue ketemu orang yang emang bisa kasih gue constructive criticism. Gue ketemu orang yang bisa bantu gue plan out ini, punya plan A, plan B, plan C. Kerja sama orang kayak gimana, deal with people who are not aligning with you itu kayak gimana. And more importantly tuh finding the friendship in all those difficulties tuh kayak gimana. Building that small community in the midst of all your hurdles. Transferable skills banyak.
Misalnya?
I feel like kayak time management. Tadi gue bilang all those lists of team leadership yada. Dealing with your emotions. I could be very explosive, you know this.
Iya, gue tahu.
Tapi kayaknya being in that position back then, gue nggak bisa kayak gitu dong. And even if I did become explosive, that was my limit. I tried. Terus misalnya building professional relationships, segampang send email deh. Lo kalau misalnya send email ke sponsor kan nggak mungkin abal-abal kan. Hey yo gitu kayak what you all up to gitu kan, nggak mungkin kan. And I think that I bring that into my work as well. As simple as that. Gitu.
Menurut lu mungkin kayak ya itu apa ya? I think it's interesting kalau misalnya lu pakai contoh yang kayak those organizations kasi misalnya kayak kirim email atau apa yang kayak that's more apa ya administrative atau textbook stuff. Tapi misalnya kayak apalagi I think forming relationships whether professional or platonic kayak I think that's also important to mention gitu. Soalnya kadang-kadang kayak itu menjadi uji coba pertama kita yang kayak we're in sort of unfamiliar situations kayak in a group atau even you as an individual atau meeting new people gitu kan. Dimana kayak those things wouldn't exist in a more casual setting gitu. Karena kan biasanya insentifnya beda gitu kan.
Betul.
Dan setidaknya dari yang gue lihat juga itu kan juga tergantung lu kerja apa juga gitu. Jadi kayak I feel like those skills juga would transfer in terms of the way you interact with other people juga gitu kan.
Yes, correct.
Nah tapi lu ngerasa gak mungkin maybe there's like one situation mungkin yang kayak lu ngerasa pas di kantor gitu setidaknya atau pas lagi lu kerja gitu yang kayak ini situasi ini kayak gue ngalamin persis banget pas PPIA gitu misalnya.
As of now sih enggak ya, maksudnya gini loh. Kayaknya kita harus ngebedain waktu kita di PPIA sama waktu kita udah dikerja. Waktu gue di PPIA, segampang ini ya. Kemarin tuh ada kejadian kayak di kerjaan gue. There was this one issue lah. Sebenarnya bukan masalah gue. Cuman karena ada sangkut pautnya sama gue, bos gue tuh seakan-akan kayak nyalahin gue. You know the whole it's not you but I'm just here to let you know but like also you're kind of wrong.
Yeah.
Kind of situation. Dan maksudnya kayak if I was in that position dulu di PPIA, I will take full responsibility because I'm the leader. Sekarang gue udah enggak gitu. I think different context sih. Makanya gue juga kayaknya nggak ada yang benar-benar mirip banget. Palingan ya teamwork dan kayak team bonding aja sih. Kayak nggak mungkin dong gue kerja di satu tim yang 6 orang terus gue cuman kerja sendiri gitu kan. The same way kayak kita di PPIA. Kayak kita berlima dulu. Beda-beda purpose misalnya atau beda alignment tapi tetap satu gitu kan. Those kinds of things palingan.
Nah terus lu juga di kantor kan lu sempat bilang yang kerja sama lu sekarang ada beberapa mantan anak PPIA juga gitu kan. Atau nggak setidaknya kayak was it you atau?
Iya,
kan?
basically ada beberapa sih.
Ya kan kayak not necessarily PPIA Vic gitu, tapi maksudnya kayak yang in that circle lah pokoknya gitu kan. Yang kayak lu tahu namanya karena lu pernah PPIA apa atau kayak in some other organization gitu kan. Nah cuman jadi kayak with them in the workplace gitu. Tapi maksudnya jadi does being Indonesian influence the way you interact with work juga? Maksudnya kayak yang tadi lu bilang kayak sehari-hari ini mungkin lebih ke netral gitu kayak not necessarily enggak sama sekali, tapi not necessarily kayak oh this is who I am, kayak gue Indo banget, enggak gitu juga gitu. Tapi lebih kayak ya udah it's just a fact gitu. Kayak it's not something.
Does your identity kayak affect how you communicate with people?
Iya mungkin ya, masa lebih ke oh ternyata tuh gue kayak coming from a different background, misalnya kayak oh gue misalnya I can approach this other problem in a different way gitu. Pernah ada kayak gitu nggak?
Enggak sih, I feel like no. I feel like especially like in Australia, everything is very egalitarianism gitu loh. Like they don't see your culture basically. They want to see you as a person. In terms of like how we think perspectively, maybe that would be different.
Okay, misalnya?
Because like different cultures are raised differently.
Yeah.
But then like that's one factor out of like a lot of factors that can affect how people think. Like the way you were raised, like what kind of friends you have, yada yada yada. But I feel like no. I feel like the fact that I can go around and socialize with people, that's part of like satu iya emang kayak kita orang ramah sebagai orang Indonesia, tapi juga karena there's like the sense of respect yang kayak equal in the Australian culture. So I don't think it affects a lot, and it doesn't definitely affects the way that I work. And I think it's a good thing because you're not supposed to look at someone through their culture if you want to hire them anyways.
Yeah.
So yeah.
Nah pas lu masuk kerja ini, was there anything that was kayak on one hand an unexpected surprise kayak in a good way, tapi di satu sisi yang lain kayak was there anything yang kayak oh ternyata this is not how I expected it to be?
The good surprise is I got a job. Period.
Okay.
It's a really bad economy.
Yeah.
Tapi sooner or later tuh gue baru nyadar bahwa sebenarnya the work itself is very monotonous.
Okay.
And if you know me, I don't like monotonous. I like to challenge things, you know?
Iya Queen, yeah.
And at one point I was like, oh, if I'm only doing this, it's not gonna help me grow.
Okay.
Because I'm just doing this. Someone else could have done my job, gitu. But I think along the line of that, along the way, gue menyadari bahwa sebenarnya ini memang kerjanya begitu-begitu aja. Tapi the good thing is I have a team leader yang sebenarnya his motto is this: don't do something that has been done, do something better than that. So aside from having just a job, you have a job that actually promotes your growth. That's the plus point.
Okay. Nah teman, promotes your growth tapi in what way gitu sebenarnya? Dan ini gue approaching sebagai orang awam kayak beyond this sort of finance area gitu ya. Masa kayak sebenarnya in terms of growth kayak what kind of things can you go kayak you increase efficiency by 0.5%. Maksudnya kayak
you know that CV like increase efficiency by 0.
Kayak sebenarnya apa sih gitu kayak I can type Excel faster. Maksudnya kayak sebenarnya dan gue not trying to make fun of kayak gue beneran mau tahu gitu loh. Kayak sebenarnya apa sih?
Gini, kalau finance and accounting, especially in my kayak particularly in my own job, I feel like the most needed efficiency per se is like how to calculate how do I say this without leaking my company info? Misalnya kayak kalau gue ya waktu itu my idea was kan gue tuh reconcile cash sales with what we receive in the bank. That's my job. Tapi each store itu beda size dong.
Okay.
Kayak store A and store B, kalau different, satunya di department store, satunya cuma di jalan, biasanya department store tuh lebih rame, lebih gede gitu kan. Jadi I thought kalau misal, jadi dia tuh biasanya setiap minggu saya namanya cash variance, where dia ngitung yang ada di POS system sama yang dia terima di deposit tuh bedanya berapa. Jadi misalnya kayak di POS-nya dibilang lo harusnya terima $200, tapi gue cuma terima 150, jadi variance-nya $50. Nah kita biasa nanya nih, ini kenapa bisa hilang 50 gitu. My logic waktu itu kayak kalau misalnya there are 2 different store sizes, $50 from both stores is not going to be the same value. So kayak misalnya, how do I make this a better measure of loss, quote unquote. So I think that goes into the efficiency. I think with finance and accounting, their sort of growth or like development comes a lot more in how do you measure your performances better? How do you use those performances measure to make your performance actually better? So kind of circular. Nah itu yang mungkin orang masukin di CV 0.5% efficiency.
Iya yang kayak kadang-kadang gue tuh ngeliatnya agak bingung aja sih, lebih ke kayak yes it is it probably is quantifiable gara-gara semuanya angka gitu kan. Iya. Tapi at the same time kayak, but does that really mean much?
When you make a quantifiable thing in CV, you need to make sure that it's clear as well.
Yeah.
Like, I'm not a CV expert.
Okay.
But if you say a 0.5% efficiency, what does that mean? You go to the bathroom shorter? You finish your lunch faster?
Gue berak bisa lebih cepet.
That is disgusting. But like you basically like push your teammates, come on gitu, biar kayak 0,5% lebih cepat kerjanya. I don't know. But that's kind of, it doesn't increase your credibility. That's the thing. And it just becomes like a apa ya? Jadi cuman kayak pelengkap gitu yang sebenarnya nggak perlu ada sih. So make sure if you want to make a CV, it's quantifiable, but it's also kayak it's clear. Misalnya kayak kalau kita waktu itu alun-alun dapat sponsor segini banyak ribu. Yeah, that's quantifiable and it's true. And it's not very broad. So I think that's what a lot of people in LinkedIn should look into. Because some of them are weird.
Iya sih.
Some of them are weird.
Now I guess looking forward now, kan jadi kan lu di sini udah tekniknya sejak lu sampai di Melbourne 2022 itu berarti kan tekniknya we're approaching 3 years gitu ya. Nah terus jadi lu sekarang what's your plan next sih sebenarnya, kayak itu juga lu masih nanya ke diri lu sendiri anyway sih. Tapi kayak at least for now, maksudnya yang lebih ke do you want to stay in Melbourne at least for the foreseeable future? Atau kayak mungkin lu mau balik ke Indo, atau lu mungkin ke tempat lain buat nerusin apa lagi kan? I think that's still a question mark even for you gitu. Tapi maksudnya yang sebenarnya yang sekarang lu mikirin itu apa?
Gue rasa kalau misalnya gue bisa dapat kerja yang bisa sponsor visa gue lebih dari 2 tahun, gue mau stay. Tapi kalau enggak, mungkin ada negara lain yang bisa, kayak misalnya kalau finance tuh lebih bagus biasa di Singapura, Hong Kong dibandingin sini. Karena sini tuh yang gede accountingnya. Atau enggak biasa lu bisa pindah ke Sydney yang banyak multinational companies ya.
Iya, lebih metropolitan.
Tapi kalau dari segi tinggal di sini, gue masih lebih prefer Indo sih ya.
Buat tinggal?
Yeah, everything is convenient, makanannya enak. Cuman kayak maybe that's a bias opinion.
Iya.
Gitu loh, karena you
tapi that's fair, soalnya kan ini buat lu gitu loh.
Correct. Yeah. And you've grown in one culture, you've grown accustomed to it. Kayak misalnya segampang gini, lu kalau di Indo kemana-mana naik apa?
Mobil.
Kalau di sini?
Jalan kaki.
Exactly.
Tapi di sini lu lebih sehat. Di Indo abis makan mobil ngadem tidur.
Enggak juga sih kayaknya sih. Soalnya makanan di sini lebih berlemak.
That's true. Tapi maksudnya setidaknya lu dari point A ke point B lu masih jalan kaki gitu. Atau setidaknya lu mau ke public.
Enggak, gue jalan kaki abis itu pulang tidur.
Itu lu. That sounds like you problem. Lu emang.
Sama aja bohong. Jadi kayak I feel like, do I want to stay if I have another agenda and most importantly a professional agenda, I would do it. Tapi kalau enggak, I would venture out and find somewhere else to stay. Kalau kata bapak gue, it's not suggested to stay at one place for too long. Itu yang dia bilang pas gue mau naik presiden. The guy was concerned because he thought like udah setahun gitu lah. But he was happy. He was happy when I run for president. So I don't think he regretted it.
Nah tapi I guess itu sih, masa staying in one place for too long gitu misalnya. Tapi I think orang-orang bisa suka ngomong what depends on yang what becomes home itu kayak is what gets the best out of you gitu kan. Correct. Where you are the best that you can be gitu sebenarnya gitu. Nah jadi sejauh ini do you think Melbourne has got that out of you?
to become a home for me.
Or at least kayak get the best out of you so far gitu misalnya.
I think it has. I mean, I've definitely blossomed into someone else I don't even
Anjay.
recognize in the past 3 years. I think growing up, I was really timid. I was really shy. I was really insecure. And here I am, not caring about what people think about me. As long as I'm doing what's right. Has it gotten the best of me? For now, yes. But if I move somewhere else and it's a better version of me, I can't say that, of course.
Mm-hmm.
What I know is Melbourne has been a place for me to actually learn and grow in my own pace, surrounded by the people who actually promote that growth. And meeting people who are there when that growth becomes stagnant.
Okay, I think that's a wrap. Yeah. Well, thanks Queen. Kayaknya it's a nice catch up. Dan kayaknya pembahasan kita juga menarik. Justru gue tadi sempat pas lu ngomong tentang more the specifics on finance, tadi gue sempat ngeblank sih, gue kayak ini orang ngomongin apa.
What is this, right? But the same thing, like if lu ngambil akuntansi gak sih dulu SMA?
Apa?
Lu ngambil akuntansi gak dulu di SMA? Yeah.
Enggak.
What did you take?
Ya kan just
drama class. Tapi gue maksudnya kayak dulu tuh hampir gak mau ngambil accounting. Karena gue at first gue mau ngambil actuarial. Terus akhirnya gue kayak nangis karena akhirnya gak bisa. Karena gue IPS. Terus gue jadinya ngambil finance. Terus gue masuk Trinity. Karena kita kan harus, lu gak Trinity? Gue Trinity. Terus pas Trinity itu accounting seru banget. Karena kayak SMA. Terus gue kayak, duh sayang nih gue gak ngambil accounting gitu kan. Masuk gue nyesel dikit sih. Tapi udah jalan, jadi udahlah diselesain aja.
Damn, I hate numbers.
Kenapa?
I hate numbers.
That's why you want me to be your personal accountant. Tapi gue bakal makan uang lu sih.
Dasar.
Jadi gimana dong? Cost and benefit. I take your numbers. Enggak, you give me your numbers, I take your money. Gimana?
Ya technically kan if I pay you wages to manage it,
siapa tahu gue ambil lagi.
Kampret. Kesel banget.
Tapi ini ya, I don't know if it's gonna be make it to the recording. Cuman gue tuh pengen kayak emphasize gini loh. Tadi kan lo ada sempet tanya kayak penting gak menurut lo masuk organisasi gitu ya. Tapi you were asking in a sense of kayak your soft skills yada. What I didn't get to explain and what I've been wanting to explain to a lot of people is that those soft skills are actually more important to people in interviews.
Gimana tuh maksudnya?
Gini, waktu lo di interview, apa pertanyaan yang ditanyain?
Apa sih strength and weaknesses yang kayak gitu-gitu gak sih?
Terus ditanya kayak time management lo kayak gimana?
Oh iya gitu lah.
And that was the same question. So gue waktu itu belajar, you have to answer your question in a STAR method kan?
Yeah.
You start with the situation, the masalahnya apa, terus resolutionnya apa, terus kayak you conclude.
Iya.
Nah, gua waktu diajarin itu, pertanyaan gue dapat dari ChatGPT nih.
Oke.
Iya, karena ternyata gitu cara belajarnya. So you ask kayak ChatGPT, can you make me 50 questions for this role? Terus dikeluarin.
Wow.
So that's how you do it. Terus for every question tuh gue udah siapin one scenario. Scenario yang paling banyak gue dapetin tuh dari PPI. Karena pertanyaannya kayak time management.
Oke, tapi kalau misalnya kayak gitu, soalnya iya, gue juga nyiapin, misalnya kayak begitu, gue juga nyiapin scenario show itu. Misalnya kayak ada ngasih kayak semuanya di kepala lah. Tapi misalnya gue juga agak wary, gue gak mau pakai an example from one situation kebanyakan gitu loh. Soalnya kayak ntar kejadiannya yang lu tahu itu doang gitu loh.
Bener. Ini maksudnya kayak waktu itu gue juga belajar di encourage lu diversify. Jadi misalnya kayak lu ada internship ini itu. Tapi lu harus tahu gini, menurut gue ya, gue nggak tahu ini whether it's a universal experience atau misalnya this is a personal experience atau gimana. Mungkin ini sounds insulting. Banyak orang mau kerja di company gede, tapi pada saat akhirnya mereka intern, mereka cuma dikasih kerjaan paling basic. Jatuhnya mereka nggak bakal belajar untuk bisa ngembangin apa-apa sendiri.
Iya.
Gitu. Jadi gue rasa tuh kayak ada semacam misconception lah. Kayak kalau misalnya kita accounting, gue mau intern di Big Four biar CV gue bagus. CV lu sebagus apapun, kalau lu sebenarnya nggak belajar apa-apa, sama aja bohong. Lu mau isi CV lu intern di sini, terus lu tulis apa? Lu ngapain? Mungkin I don't know ya, karena gue juga nggak pernah intern di Big Four. And maybe like this is a biased opinion. Kalau misalnya lu masuk satu company dan kerjaannya sebenarnya cuma lu di quote unquote, sorry banget kasar, babuin, I don't think that's a better option daripada lu kerja di company kecil, tapi lu pegang beberapa project yang lu sendiri bisa develop. Karena gue pernah kerja di satu kayak social enterprise.
Okay.
Hari pertama, that was my first year of uni. Then the funny thing is, I actually applied for product design intern. I don't know anything about product design. I can't even draw. Terus they offered me finance and accounting. Terus first day of intern, gue langsung disuruh make decision. And throughout my 4 months di sana, banyak banget gue ditanyain advice, gue dibantu untuk jadi better person. Kayak dia suruh gue ikut tes kayak aptitude test gitulah. Terus dikasih dikasih hasilnya, dan itu tesnya bayar setahu gue. Jadi kayak gue dikasih nih kayak semacam employee package lah dari mereka gitu loh. Jadi gue bukan cuman kayak disuruh kerja karena mereka butuh bantuan aja. The company doesn't just I don't just need the company needs me too. And that makes me kayak ada banyak experience yang gue bisa belajarin dari waktu gue di intern di sana. Adek gue juga pernah di salah satu sekuritas tergede di Indonesia. Memang gede, dan maksudnya bagusnya karena waktu itu dia disuruh bikin presentasi. Tapi gue rasa when you're interning ya, it doesn't necessarily mean that when you intern for a big company that's your best choice. You need to also know where you want to go, because this is not just going to help you build your career, it's going to build your credibility juga in front of interviewers. Let's say kalau misalnya lo intern di satu big company, lo masuk marketing, pokoknya lo kayak bilang yang penting gue masuk big company deh, apa aja divisinya. Tapi lo masuk marketing, terus lo mau interview kerja buat financial analyst, kredibel nggak?
Ya enggak dong. Unless you can prove how the skills you have there are transferable mungkin ya.
Correct.
Kecuali lu bisa secara eksplisit menjelaskan bagaimana ya.
But that's a small chance.
Iya.
Gitu. So I think organization it helps a lot. Karena biasanya yang mereka tanya tuh kayak tadi gue bilang time management, dealing with people you don't want to work with, pressure. Terus dia ada sering nanya kayak teamwork. So kayak arbitrary question sebenarnya menurut gue. Tapi can come a lot from your organizational experience gitu. Diversify aja. That's the key.